Welcome to the Inspiration Incubator. Here we rejuvenate, reconnect, reteach, and redirect. I'm your host, Leona Baker. It is our hope that you leave inspired with resources and information to help you achieve your goals and dreams. Our world needs you, so let's see who is the next guest on the Inspiration Incubator. Well, hello, Rashid. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How are you?
I am doing well. First of all, thank you so much for making time in your busy schedule to join us for the Inspiration Incubator. I'm so excited that you are here today.
No problem. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the first thing is I'm going to make everybody wait before I just jump right on in there and talk about love and relationships.
Right.
At
Okay.
this point, after having had read your bio, my goodness, you are definitely moving and shaking and making the best out of your time. You seem to be focused and just driven. I mean, if I had to use one word to describe you, it would be that you are driven, just like those cars, okay?
Right. I
So
like that. I like that.
I'm trying to tell you, you are driven. I love it. Now, what I want to put everybody on to, as I just read in your bio, it says that you're a CEO, YouTuber, entrepreneur, and a fashion designer. But as I was going through, I was actually able to identify not one, not two, not three, but five sources of income that you're working with. Okay. Now,
Wow.
since
Really?
yes, yeah, yes, I
Sometimes
did.
you just get lost in the sauce and you just stop counting.
Hey, no, sir. And I'm going to tell you because I pay attention, right? Now, you may have more than that, but I'm going to just let the audience know what I picked up on because they need to see you as an example, as a man, as a businessman, and also as a father. As a decent human being, you were the fan favorite on, the hit TV show Ready to Love and all of that, but you definitely embody so much more. Okay.
Wow. I
We got some
appreciate
lessons to learn from Rashid tonight. Yes,
that.
yes. So,
No
number one,
pressure. No
Rashid,
pressure.
no pressure, no pressure. Number one, the first source of income would be you have an area of expertise. And the reason is because as a CEO, you have several different areas where you are vetted, you're actually prepared and polished to teach others to do the same. So that's where you get income source number one. Number two, Rashid the broker. As owner at the Level Luxury Automotive, I mean, you're a broker. I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't realize because I don't necessarily have a high end luxury car. I didn't realize that you could be a broker in that area. So that was interesting to know. So that's
Right. Right.
income source number two. And then as a YouTuber, for people who may or may not know, you definitely can monetize from that. And that's what I'm in the process of doing and several others as we meet our benchmarks. Okay.
Correct.
Then we have Rashid, the fashion designer. Now you're going to have to correct me. I hope I get this right. You have your Nelson Balka Clothing, a luxury street chic clothing brand inspired by a mix of your American and European cultures, which was also inspired by your grandfather.
You right. You got the name close. You were close. That's good. That's
Okay.
good. It was good.
Okay. How do can you tell me how to say it?
It's Nelson Barquet, like the Barquets, the old singing group, the Barquets.
Oh,
But
wow.
it's French and it's spelled Balka. Got a whole lot going on there. So that's how most people
Okay.
pronounce it. So it's all good. As long as you're saying the
Yeah.
name, I'm good.
Well, thank you. Wow, that's awesome. I like how you say that. Then you have income source number five, which is Rashid, the personality, because you were booked on that hit TV show. And so at this point, anyone who's looking to do business with a man, and invite you onto their shows, you definitely can make income that way as well. So there you go with your 5 sources of income, people. You're gonna have to keep up. You're gonna have to keep up with this particular episode because Rashid is on the move. Okay. Um, Now with question number one, I can remember, growing up a Baker girl in West Philly. That's where I'm from, West Philadelphia, born and raised. And those were
Okay.
some of the,
On the playground.
yeah, hey, yes, all day. Those were some of the best times of my life upon reflection. My
Hmm.
question to you is, what are some of your memories like growing up here in Houston, Texas? What was the family life like? And where were some of the places such as the restaurants, the museum district, the theater district? What was that interaction like for you growing up here in Houston, Texas?
Houston, I'm born and raised here, so I love it. I have fond memories of childhood. I was raised by a single mother. My mother and father divorced. I was, I was in elementary school age, but my dad still lived in Houston as well, so I had both parents here locally. And I just remember, summers and having fun and being able to. I think Houston, the area that we're in, it's kind of tropical. Obviously, it's hot, but we can get to the water. I
Yes.
remember going fishing with my dad and doing all kind of water stuff. I love being around the water. Summers at Astroworld back in the day. We don't have an amusement park anymore, which is crazy. But just hanging out with friends and family. A lot of my friends and family were either from Houston or most of my family's from Louisiana, which is Louisiana is basically East Texas for the most part.
Yeah.
But no, it was great. I liked the southern upbringing, the hospitality style of being
Yes.
friendly to the neighbor and everybody talking to each other and having a good time. So childhood growing up in Houston was awesome. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's awesome. Well, I tell you, being here in Houston now, Houston is definitely home. And despite what we just went through as a
Hmm.
city, it just
Yeah,
demonstrates the strength and the strong arm that Texas has. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to go through a disaster, you want to go through that disaster here in Texas. You want to go through that
right.
disaster in Harris County. You want to go through that disaster here in the third largest city, United States of America, where people are on the move and where resources are in abundance as opposed to some other places, as it relates to business anyway.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. So now, with that being said, Rashid, we know your grandfather was your source of inspiration for your clothing line. We know you grew up here in Houston, but can you take us back to your days at A&M University in Huntsville, Alabama? At
Hmm.
that time, you were a standout high school basketball player, riding high on a basketball scholarship, which led you to graduate with honors with a degree in kinesiology and childhood education in 2003. Woo! That was a ways back.
Right.
Hmm.
Every year it gets further and further away from you.
Yeah. What was
But
that
no,
like?
man, having that atmosphere, going to a HBCU, playing basketball, just having that whole type of commonality with people that look like me every day, but we were all pulling in the same direction. We were all there, yeah, obviously to kick it and have a good time and live our best lives, but we was all there for a purpose. To get the piece of paper and a degree and enjoy ourselves while we were doing it. And I definitely did that. Coming from that background, my parents, my mom, my grandmother, all went to Southern University, so they went to HBCU. And I knew that I had a little extra um, on my shoulders because I was the first man in my family to go and graduate from college. So I had
Wow,
that
that's awesome.
kind of torch to carry, and I was proud to
Hmm.
do so. So did that, had a good time, able to pledge the illustrious fraternity Kappa Alpha Psi Incorporated, and
Uh-huh. The
just had a great time
Kappas.
and yeah, and enjoyed playing basketball at the Division I level, traveling and seeing a lot of the country and the world. It was a great experience.
Awesome. Um, that definitely is kind of like a segue into your current affairs. And what I like about the connection that you have with basketball, like for example, today on your Instagram, you are hosting an event. It's a high end plane on that flyer for those who can afford it. Okay, I think it was what 5,500, and
Yes, for a trip to Atlanta for the All Star weekend next week.
yes, for to Atlanta. And it's going to be a good time. And I'm going to tell you right now, I learned early. My mother, one of the things she taught me, if you're going to go VIP. And the
Ah,
reason is, yeah, I'm trying to tell you, the reason is because the treatment that you receive is different. You
yeah,
know, the
100%.
experience that you receive is on a whole nother level. You see what I'm saying? And so, with you having had that experience in, basketball, understanding what it took to focus, to practice, to give it your all, to put in that sweat equity. What's interesting about this situation to me is that you still found a way to trailblaze your way and have that connection to basketball despite the fact that you did not make it into the NBA. You still rubbing elbows, okay?
For sure, for sure.
You still rubbing elbows. So I say all that to say I see the connection with your education, okay? And you obviously chose to go another route. And what was the reason for you saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to jump head first into this automotive luxury car deal situation, and I'm going to, move past the childhood education. So what was that transition like?
Well, actually, I didn't. I did some other things before I got into the car business. So after college, I had some opportunities to try to continue to play basketball professionally, like overseas, and also in the NBA had started a new developmental league. But I was working on my secondary education degree, and I needed another semester. So I was like, well, let me knock this semester out before I do that, so I don't have to worry about coming back, and I have my degree in hand. And then
Mm,
just started kind of seeing the ins and outs of going overseas and being across the water, and the type of income that you could make. Now, it's great, great money, but there's also levels to it as well, like anything in life. So then, I
mm-hmm.
decided, it's just not my path. Every kid wants to go to the NBA, and I knew I wasn't quite there. I was better than most, obviously, to play at
Right.
a high
Absolutely.
level, but still not amongst the best of the best. So I was okay with that. So I decided to. Initially, I was going to school to use my kinesiology degree to be a chiropractor. So I
Mm,
enrolled in chiropractic college in Texas, in Houston area, and then shortly after that, my dad passed away. So I had just jumped out of school, jumped in that. My dad passed away, so I was just kind of not. I was kind of over
so
school,
sorry
so
to
I got
hear
out of
that.
school. Yeah, I appreciate it. And then just happened to have an opportunity with a college teammate of mine who was coaching at a junior college in Georgia, and I was kind of in a transition, deciding if I want to continue chiropractic college or do something else. So I went down there with him and started coaching. So I started coaching basketball at the junior college level. Did that for a year, and then came back to Houston and started. I got a job at University of Houston coaching, and then shortly after that, I got a head high school job. So I was a high school teacher and head basketball coach. Um, college, high school, all for like 9 years, up until
Educators make you
2000.
greater.
Yeah, up until 2013.
Wow.
So in 13, that's when my son was born, and then I was just kind of burnt out again from what I was doing. So
Yeah.
anyway, I
Education will take you there depending on what you're doing and how much of it you're doing.
yeah,
Yes.
and it was never about the kids. The kids are awesome. It's just the
Oh
whole
yeah,
school
yeah. Oh,
system
I
is
know.
changing. Yeah, there's no protection there from the administration. Everybody's scared of the parents. There's no backbone. There's no
Yeah.
nothing. It's all political. So, and I was like, you
Yeah.
know what? Y'all don't pay me enough for this. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I get it.
then I
I
got
get
in the
it.
car business. I got in the car business 2013 and started selling at Cadillac. So I jumped right in at a luxury dealership or a luxury brand at Cadillac, and quickly I was a top salesperson in the city. So what happens there? You get promoted. So I got promoted to finance manager, promoted to sales manager. So I did my apprenticeship. I did my learning both the front end and back end of the business and learning how to treat customers with a higher level of treatment and service, like you said earlier. Because people have money, they'll spend it, but they still want to feel like there's value for what they're spending. You have to show them the
Mm,
value. People spend money for what they value. So after that, it just kind of happened organically. Just people would start calling me about different cars and asking me for their advice, my advice on the cars. And I had started, back in I've done it about 5 6 years. I was like, you know what? Try to making these people rich. I don't have my time as much as I want to,
mm-hmm.
so I just kind of started putting it out there. I was double dipping. I was doing both, working there and doing other deals on the side, just trying to maintain some level of security. And
Yes.
then, quite honestly, what propelled me to go full time was the pandemic.
Mm.
So in early March, but you know what was crazy?
What?
Um, I did not know the pandemic was about to shut us down. So I
Mm.
kind
That
of
was
take
none
that
but
back.
God. Mm.
Right. I the 1st of March, I was like, okay, I'm gonna step out on faith and just do it all by myself and just go ahead and start the. I'd already had the dealership started, dealer's license. I'm gonna just start. I'm gonna just step out on faith. That was
Right,
like
right.
March 3rd, 5th, somewhere around there. And then a week or two later, that's when the state started kind of shutting down middle of March. And I'm like, what the hell did I
Mm.
just do? Because I left
Woo.
that security net. So I was actually, quite afraid of what was gonna be to come. And then
I
God worked
understand.
it out to whereas, I've been thriving ever since and just it's just growing and growing and growing.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's almost to the point where I'm I almost need to hire some people to help me out. So
Hey,
that's my long
hey.
story. Sorry.
Hey, it sounds, it's just all very fascinating to me. And there's just a few things I'm gonna rewind and touch bases on.
Sure.
It goes back to your moments of preparation because it's important for my audience to know as they get inspired through your story that there are moments of preparation. So along your journey, you see that you were being prepared and groomed to understand how to think quick. You were understanding how to be a mover and a shaker, and to shake hands, and also how to move around, because as a professional athlete you can't sit still, Rashid, because your clients may be here in Houston, your clients may be in Italy, your clients may be in Atlanta. So you have to be that go-to guy with that YouTube channel, demonstrating to everybody, this is how I
Yeah.
move, these are the vehicles that I have, I'm Rashid the Car Gawd. I'm the one for the job. You're that middleman cutting those checks and making those deals. As I was watching some of your videos today, I really have to commend you because I learned a tip that I need to focus a little bit more on. And one of the things that I identified while you were moving around, I don't recall the gentleman's name, but you know exactly who he is when I tell you what you were doing. He's the gentleman that makes the hats. I call the red
Yeah.
bottom hats, like the red bottom shoes.
Yeah.
you know, well, I should say the red rim hats because they have a red rim around them.
Yeah.
And
Keith and James.
yeah, Keith and James, is that what it is?
That's the name of the brand. His name is James Keith. So he just switched it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, got you. Keith and James. Okay, made a note of that. And I say all of that to say, one of the things you taught me, which is something that I already do, but I would say that I love male energy and I grew up in it. Well, I should say, excuse me, let me correct myself, manly energy, because DeAndre Whitfield has taught me through his book there is a difference between
Mhm.
men and males. And I had a conversation with him on Clubhouse, so I need to check myself. Let me check myself. Okay, so your man, your masculinity, your manliness. I love how men just think sometimes. They just go with the flow and they're go-getters. And so you were just having conversations, you saw the hats, you liked the hats, you told him, hey, let me go ahead and support. You were willing to support this brother despite any deals he was making with you. And then
Right.
as your
Yeah.
relationship grew, of course, when he was ready, he made that phone call. And that was a reminder to me because sometimes I'm the kind of person, I'm a cheerleader. I like to support people. I like to move resources. I like to connect people to what they need, you know. But when I saw you say, you know, just go through that scenario, it was just a reminder to me to be a little more intentional because what we don't realize is people, being a kind person is being a kind person, but being a business minded person is a little different. You have to be a little more intentional. And so I said to myself, there's certain moments that I need to capture and be intentional with so that I can capitalize off those moments. So I appreciate that. Now, when I was looking at some vehicles, you know, I said, okay, let me look at these vehicles real quick because I'm interviewing Rashid the Car Gawd. I got to come with some of these questions to educate myself and others on these vehicles. And so as I was looking at the cars, you know, and I just looked at the Mercedes Benz and the Lexus because when I put in high end vehicles, that's what came up. I was surprised that the Lexus had a higher, it was actually the Lexus LS had a higher resale value than the Mercedes CLS class. They basically had a higher resale value by 1.5%. And so that made me go, okay. So if you can sell that vehicle at about 43% of what you purchased it for, that's pretty good as opposed to trying to, you know, resell, let's say a Mazda, you know? And
Right,
with
right.
you, because you know, we see you with the Bentleys, we see you with the Rolls Royce. Can you educate us a little bit about why people invest in high end cars? Because as we were growing up, we were always taught, you know, there's a difference between, you know, your assets and your liabilities. And as soon as you drive that car off the lot, it depreciates in value. So we know with the high end cars, because, you know, for me, I do have friends that are millionaires. And so they invest in luxury cars, you know? So can you educate us as to why people are possibly investing a little more in some, you know, luxury cars such as Bentleys or Maseratis or
Well, first of all, it's buying one single car, regardless of what it is never an investment, period, because they're all depreciating assets, period, point blank. Whenever you buy them, you're right. Whenever you drive them off the lot, they're going to depreciate. 100%, you're right. It depends on what clip they depreciate, obviously, but they're all going to depreciate. And it's all based upon the number of miles that are driven and how old the vehicle is. To your point, a lot of times, especially a Lexus or something like that, Lexus is built by Toyota. Lexus and Toyota are extremely uh, well put together. They are very reliable, and that is more of an affordable luxury vehicle with great reviews and great lifespan. So that's why they have a great
mm,
resale, because people who don't want them new or can't afford them new, whatever the case may be, they look forward to buying those cars pre-owned because they know that they could buy a quality pre-owned vehicle that'll last a long time and the maintenance isn't as expensive. If you look at a Mercedes, great car, might not hold its value as much because repairs are more expensive. It's a German vehicle, German parts, all that, blah, blah, blah. I won't bore you with all
mm,
that. But at the end of the day, people buy these luxury vehicles not for necessary practicality. It's, I would say, one, because they can afford it, and
right.
let's be honest, it's mostly vanity. It's a vanity purchase. At the end of the day, it's a vanity purchase to show I made it. Whether it's new money, old money, young money, however you want to show it. Now, some people don't put value in cars, but a lot of people do. That's why people like myself and other dealerships on every corner are in business. Um,
Mm,
but with that being said, I advise my clients on the right way to buy a depreciating asset, because most of these people who can afford these type of vehicles are pretty, they're pretty smart. They got their money some kind of way, unless they were unless they were born into it. So I
mm,
try to show them the best possible way to spend their money on vehicles. So when we're looking at new vehicles, I'm a huge advocate of leasing, because leasing protects you a little better than buying a vehicle.
mm,
And if you're going to
mm,
buy one, I always suggest my clients buy something pre-owned. That means the first person who bought that car, they took the big depreciation hit. because eventually depreciation on cars starts slowing down as they get a little older.
Mm.
The first hard initial depreciation is that within the first year to 18 months. That's why I advise my people, if they want to buy, I tell them to try to buy something pre-owned, maybe 2 years old or 3 years old. If you want something new, I always advise them to go to a lease. And that kind
Mm.
of protects them from the appreciation factor, because there's a lot of, I won't get into the whole minutia of leasing, but
Right, right.
uh, the bank is responsible for that vehicle, because you're
Mm-hmm.
going to return that vehicle back to them. You're only responsible for the portion of the car that you're using, not for the overall ownership of the vehicle.
And you can write it off if you
And
own a
it's great
business.
write-offs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
and you know what? I thought about doing a kind of an informative YouTube video regarding purchase versus lease, because unfortunately, in the Black community, especially the world of hip hop
Yeah.
and pop culture, it's uh
Mm-hmm.
it's a negative to lease. We always tell, no, I want to buy it. I want to buy it. I
Oh
want the
Lord.
title. I spent cash on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, really, you're a dummy for doing that. But we
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
glorify that to show you got money. Well, people with real money know I'm not going to spend 100+ thousand, $200,000 cash on a depreciating asset as soon as I
Mm-mm.
start it up.
Mm-mm. Not at
People
all.
with money are smart investors. They would take that 150 grand or 250 grand and invest it in the stock market and give me 30 grand down, and then go do what they want to do and get the car that they want. And then at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it doesn't appreciate as much, because
Mm-hmm.
you're protected that way, and you have more write-off benefits. So that's something that we need to be more educated on. It's not baller, it's not boss to buy a car cash. It's boss and baller to be able to lease a car, because you have to fall into certain criteria and a certain credit threshold to even qualify for a lease.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
separates the men from the boys, not showing
All
that you can buy
right.
a car cash. Now, to certain people, I do get a lot of high end clients and stuff like that. Their tax man says, "Hey, go buy a car at the end of the year to save on taxes." Now, there's
Right.
exceptions to rules for you to buy a car cash, but most times it's a strategic reason that we're doing that.
Right. And you have some people because it's not uh, vehicles are non-liquid assets, and so you can't just essentially if you purchase a vehicle for $500,000. I mean, you want to make sure you have a seller. You want to be able to sell that vehicle to someone. So you can't just jump out the window and think, okay, I got cash today. It's not that simple. You have to make sure somebody can afford to purchase that car for that price. Well, I appreciate that educational moment because, there are people who, purchase vehicles and they'll flip them. There's some people that go to the auctions and they'll flip those vehicles, invest in it that way and sell them. Everybody has their hustle. It's a
Yeah,
little
for
different
sure.
for
And after doing
everybody.
that, they're buying them. They're buying them below market though. They're buying them at wholesale. They're flipping them at retail.
Right, right,
So yeah,
right,
if you're
right.
doing it as a profit to make money, absolutely, I do that as well. Um, well, for those retail clients, anytime you buy something retail, you're not going to get your money back unless you keep it X
Well,
amount of
I,
terms of
I can
years.
tell you right now, I'm a Toyota kind of woman right here.
Right, right.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with
I
that.
just,
Nothing
after I
wrong.
started I actually had a hybrid that I paid cash for, but it was used, so I didn't mind paying cash for it, and I got
Yep,
my
exactly,
the value out of the
exactly.
car. And when I tell you that gas, whoo, when you fill up the tank and you only have to $11, okay,
Trust me,
filled up my tank.
I have a car that my everyday car to drive around this city
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
Toyota Prius.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what I
I have
had, a
a, I
Toyota
have a
Prius.
Prius.
Yep,
I have a Prius.
yep.
People get
Don't you
surprised
love it?
when they see me pull up in my Prius. I love that car. I'm
Don't you
like,
love it? Oh
yeah,
man, I
yeah,
miss that car. I mean, when I have a different one now, but I bought that car with cash. I was like, yes, I have to have this. But yeah, you just it's like okay, and whatever floats people boats. But for me, I'm frugal. I'm gonna be honest. My retirement, that's where my mind is fixated on. I want to
exactly. So
be 65. Yeah,
not everybody puts value in cars. Some people put value in travel. Some people put
yeah,
value in buying and selling real estate, stuff like that that
yeah.
can gain
Nice
value. So
portfolio.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Make sure it's diversified, people. Yes, yes. Now, as you were talking and you said it's better for the person who purchased the vehicle. You said the first year or about about a year to 18 months, they take the hardest hit. And for some reason, my mind went to relationships because I'm trying to tell you, my mind. So we're going to segue into the love portion of this conversation.
All
But
right.
for those who may or may not know, you were a fan favorite, period, point blank. And I was just so proud of you as to how you carried yourself as a Black man and how you interacted with the ladies. I don't know what it was about you. You literally had the only drama that you had, and of course it came to light in the with you and Denise. I mean, everybody, that was clear that that had nothing to do with you. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
And those of us, because this was actually a show that my sisters and I watched together. Okay, I have two biological, well, I have three sisters, but my two sisters, we were actually watching this together because I had interviewed Winter, and so we were like, yes, we're gonna watch this show. We're gonna talk about it, right? And so as the show was moving along, I mean, you literally had the character that was just outstanding. I mean, there was just no quirks, no crumbs. And so when you say the people who purchased the vehicle their first year to 18 months, those are the ones that take a hit. It reminded me, like, sometimes in relationships, for people who are looking to start over, they know what they want. They know what it's going to take to maintain the relationship, and they build accordingly. Okay.
Right.
So when you were on the show, let's just play a quick game of what if before we wrap it all up. But let's just say, if you had to do it over again, who would have been your top three picks?
Oh man, that's a good
And
one.
you, without Adriana, you can't pick Adriana. But outside of Adriana, who would have been your top three? Because I'm gonna be honest with you. Initially, when the program started, I had pinned uh, Winter and Jay together, and I had pinned, and that's only because I've actually interacted with the both of them at
Hmm.
some point. So I kind of knew their personalities, and I was like, "Oh, she fly, he fly. These two go. They should have a love connection."
Right.
But I didn't really have anything to go off of with some of the other members, and so with you, when I watched the show, I could really see how Simone was feeling you. And I was just sitting there smiling when y'all were sitting in that truck. And I just felt like, yes, she is feeling Rashid. They would make a cute couple. And so I kind of felt like, because the other guys knew that she wasn't feeling them, that they were kind of wanting to push her up along, you know? And I just needed to let you know that, because I know you all are just friends and y'all have whatever y'all have going on, maybe or maybe not just be just friends. But I just needed to say that to you because she really appeared to be into you in that moment.
Right, right, right.
So who would your top three be?
I would say um, Simone, Winter, and Alex. If I can't to answer your question, that would,
Yes.
yeah, for sure, those three.
Yes.
Mm.
Awesome. Now, what are a few lessons that you can, or advice? Lessons or advice, those are two different things. Do you have any lessons and or advice that you can give us to prepare us, the people who are looking forward to finding our soulmates? We know that it's a lot of work. We know that you have to, put your best foot forward. But being a man who was dedicated to his situation for as long as you were, and you were the one guy, the one gentleman, I should say, who, you backed up your words with your actions.
Right.
So you actually were married. You have a beautiful child. You have one son, to my understanding.
Correct.
And you seem to be an excellent father, which is just always great to see. You and his mother, y'all are doing an amazing job together raising him.
Thank you.
So, can you give us some tips, what some of the single people need to be prepared for in the event they get ready to walk down those aisles? Because the game changes real quick when you say, I do.
It does. It does. You know what? I've said this on numerous interviews. Uh, I think the number one thing is you can't be afraid to put it all out there at first. Like what motivates you, what you're looking for, and what your deficiencies are. What are your shortcomings? And acknowledge those up front, because if people see those later on, then it's almost like a surprise to them, like you were keeping it from them. And
Mm,
that goes along with premarital counseling, and also having tough conversations early on before they
mm-hmm,
before they become to whereas you have to face them. You can't, it's in your face, and you don't have a choice, because now you're married to this person. You can't. There's no going back to your apartment. They go back to theirs. You're stuck in that space, and so you got to have that open lines of communication. And that's one of the things that I admittedly dropped the ball on. That I would learn from being more transparent, more open, and not keep things from my significant other, because at the end of the day, you got to be teammates. You got to be a good teammate, and
mm,
and I say this all the time. You got to be pulling in the same direction. If you're not, then it becomes tug of war. So
mm,
that's one of the primary things I would say. And then at the end of the day, this is the attitude I had going on the show: is just be yourself and be okay with yourself, and be okay if things didn't work out in your favor. So I think people
right,
should do that in dating too. Like if you see this person, and we're all guilty of this. I've been guilty of this as well. You see this person who you think on paper is the right person for you, so you want to go above and beyond, which you should anyway for someone that you're dating. But you
right,
want to
right,
try to force it, because like, no, this is the one. This is, and if it's still not ordained or not right, then it's
right.
not going to be right. So I would say don't cut corners in dating, but don't don't look to the one person that you think is perfect, and you do extra stuff that you wouldn't normally do, because at the end of the
Mm,
day, that that becomes, I don't think that becomes organic. I think stuff needs to happen organic. So be okay with putting all your chips out there now. You got to put everything out
mm-hmm,
there, and let that, and be intentional, and let that person know where you stand, and be
mm-hmm,
okay with the results though. You can't put a square peg in a round hole. And that was kind
mm,
of the gist of my conversations at the end of the show, and that kind of what I was feeling, and I was okay with that.
mm,
So I
mm,
think people
mm.
just got to be okay with that in whether you're on TV, real life, or whatever. It doesn't matter. That was all. I was being my authentic self.
And
So
I'm gonna tell you, we all appreciated that because there was a lot going on, but you were so authentic, and I think that one of the things that my younger sister used to say all the time, because she's military, she would say, "The more mud people sling, the cleaner you look." You know,
mhm.
because although the mud was slinging and swaying, you were coming out clean, and so it was a reminder to me. Just it doesn't matter what's going on around you or even what people say. You keep walking in your truth and your honesty and your good character, and that's going to override everything. Everything, Some people were a little hard on Adriana. I felt because she picked Calfani, and my perspective on the situation was, which I actually created the little trailer about, was that she just used her power, her power of yes and no, and she needed to be okay with her decision that she made. Now, most
I
of us
agree.
may have felt in them, you know what I mean? Because I'll be honest with you, I never said in the trailer who I thought she should have picked, because I felt that in that moment she had to exercise her power. And I felt she demonstrated to us, in from looking at it from the perspective of a woman, that we do have to sometimes pick, and men too, between two different people. And you have to be mindful that when you make that decision, you're not going to be able to go back to that other person who could have possibly been a game changer in your life. So use your power wisely, because at the end of the day, I mean, I just feel like she had to be hurt how that situation ended, when you had this thoroughbred over here, and you had this amazing, sexy, hot guy over here, but then you come home and you have nothing. It's like, whoa. That was deep. That was deep.
Right,
And then
right, right.
the other part to that, the lesson that I learned from you was that you were so focused. It was a breath of fresh air to see a man pursue a woman to the degree of knowing this, I want what I want or nothing at all. And that is, you are that kind of dude. You're like, look, I know what I want. I want that
Yeah,
one. I want
yeah,
that one.
yeah.
That vehicle, I'm working towards that vehicle. I'm working towards this future. I'm working towards that house. Like you're, so even though I didn't know you personally, even though I didn't know your personality and we had never, engaged up until that point, it was like this brother ain't playing no games, and that was very refreshing. That was very refreshing to see that. And you had the same power as she had, and you chose to keep going, and you did. And I felt like in the end you both should have walked away feeling like, okay, we did what we were supposed to do when we signed up for the show. And that was another aspect that I appreciated about you, because you were focused. You came to play that game and to walk up out of there with your woman. And although in the end you didn't necessarily walk out with her, you were one of the last men who were standing. Okay, you really were. So thank you for just participating in the show and making us all proud in terms of how you handled it. And what's next for Rashid? And can you please tell us where to follow you, and tell us tell them about your YouTube channel, where they can go to purchase your t-shirts, what they're going to watch on your YouTube channel, because I said, okay, I'm gonna have to go back and watch some more of these videos. These
Right,
videos.
right, right. Yeah, no problem. Well, I appreciate those kind words. But I agree with you. I think people were way too hard on Adriana, and I've said that on numerous interviews. And I said that on the reunion. They didn't show much of it, but I was like, she followed her heart, and what's wrong with that? And then it's not. She had no idea that that was going to happen. She did what her heart told her to do, and you got to stand by that. Stand by, you know. She didn't do anything wrong. Um,
No, because you know what? You, as well as she, you are a package deal that is prepared for somebody who is deserving. She is a package deal in her own right that is prepared for someone who can, deal with all the things that she has to offer. So at the end of the day, when there is this resistance, it's not just for the person who's doing the rejection, it's also for the person who wants to be the recipient in that relationship between themselves and that other person. It gets to the point where that other person is deserving of who they are supposed to be with, period, point blank. And when you look at how you carried yourself, and how you're addressing the women and how you overcome adversity, there were a lot of obstacles that you had to jump over during the
right.
show, just like some of the other people, even the recording, but you were consistent. And so your time is coming. Whoever she is, whether or not you're in a, I didn't even ask you if you were in a relationship. I'm sure the ladies would like to know. But whatever your situation is, it's going to be all good, and you're going to be happy, because you cannot walk around with that energy, and you cannot walk around with that foresight that you have to focus in on what you want and not get it. I mean, when I look at your resume, when you look at how you handle business, that's how I said, okay, when I was watching your videos today, I said, this is exactly why he pursued this woman. Because men who are a cut above, and y'all need to hear me, guys, men who are a cut above, they're not swayed back and forth like the wind. They know what they want. They plan, they prepare, they have insight, they have instinct, and they focus, and they hone on in what they want, and they get it. They make things happen. You did it with your luxury car dealership. You did that with your clothing line. All of these different things. You're a trailblazer. And so if you really look at history in itself, most powerful men, they are typically married, but like, again, you went in the situation knowing what it was that you wanted, and you were willing to make it happen. So that was boss. When you really look back on those tapes, I was like, okay, this is deep. This is deep.
Well, I appreciate that. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I am. I'm very intentional with what I do, because I lock in, and I don't waste a whole lot of time with things, because time is our most valuable commodity, so why waste it?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as your other question is what I've got going, I'm actually posting a new Car Gawds video in about 10 minutes. It's going to go up at 8 o'clock on my YouTube channel.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna share it.
The,
I'm gonna share it.
yeah, the
Yeah.
YouTube channel is Car Gawds, Gawds.
Okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
I
Car
am Rashid the
Gawds.
Car Gawd on social media on Instagram, Rashid underscore the Car Gawd, Gawds. And if you go there, you'll see on my link tree all my other um, social media handles you can find me on. My clothing line is NB underscore clothing. That's the YouTube channel. I mean, that's the IG page. My
Mm-hmm.
Level Luxury Automotive is the IG page on there as well. And I also have the link for also a brand ambassador for Essential Body Bar here in Houston,
All
who
right.
got my face back to normal after I had my allergic reaction that
Mm.
people saw
Yeah,
on
I
the
did see
review.
that. Yeah.
So now, yeah, Latrice and her staff at Essential Body Bar here in Houston, it's black owned. She's been taking care of me. My face is pretty much back to normal,
That's
and
awesome.
I'm doing like you said, the luxury private jet brokering through
Mm-hmm.
Sahara Jets is also another black owned company. So I'm just trying to, stick my hands in a lot of things, and all my stuff kind of correlates. I don't do anything that, I want to be jack of all trades, master of
Right.
none. So
Right.
I
Right. Right.
sell a high end luxury vehicle experience. Those same people can flow right into the high end travel experience and with
Right.
the high end leisure streetwear apparel. So it all kind of correlates. So I'm staying in my lane. I like I like
Mm-hmm.
to kind of you know dibble and dabble in nice things, but at the same time, I'm a super humble guy, and people ask me this all the time. That I only sell high end cars. I sell people Toyotas, Kias, Hyundais, whatever. It doesn't matter to
Right.
me. That's
Right.
just
Okay, that's good to know. That's good
yeah,
to
yeah,
know
yeah.
because I will have to send people your way.
No, that's
Okay.
just a focus. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
people go to medical school, but then you're a cardiologist or
You're
you're a
gonna take
dentist.
care of whoever. Mm-hmm.
You're gonna go pick your direction. So that's what
Right.
I've decided to move towards. But other than that, that's it. I'm coaching my son in basketball. I got a lot going on, but everything's great. Everything's fun. I appreciate all the fans' support and love I have. Um, I had a ton of positive feedback from the fans from the
Yes.
show, and I really appreciate them for that.
Awesome. And I see you planting those seeds with your baby. You like, look, you planting them seeds all around. That's the thing about
Yeah, he goes
seeds.
everywhere with me.
Hey,
Anytime I can bring him, I want him to see it.
that's awesome. I'll tell you, he's gonna do some amazing things. You make sure you keep the faith, and we're gonna check in with you, and I'll let everybody see your face when we're ready for all of that. Well, thank you, Rashid, for joining me this evening, and I look forward to having you back soon.
I can't wait.